Well, US President Donald Trump says that President Xi Jinping has offered China's help to open the Strait of Hormuz.
And as well as pledged not to send military equipment to aid Iran. The American leader told Fox News that President Xi Jinping told him China would like to help in negotiating an end to the Iran war. Listen to this.
President Xi would like to see a deal made. He would like to see a deal made. And he did offer, he said, if I can be of any help at all, I would like to be of help.
Because, he did say that.
Yeah, he did say that. And look, anybody that buys that much oil has obviously got some kind of a relationship with him. But he said, I would love to be a help. If I can be of any help whatsoever, he'd like to see the Hormuz Strait open. He said, if I can be of any help whatsoever, I would like to help.
Now, when asked about China's support to Iran, President Trump said that the Chinese leader had assured him that Beijing would not send military equipment to Iran.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent separately told CNBC that China would use its influence with Iran to help reopen the strait. He said that China had a greater stake in reopening Hormuz than the U.S. due to its dependence on West Asian oil supplies.
Now, a White House official said that Trump and Xi agreed during their talks that the strait must remain open to ensure the free flow of energy.
Now, taking to social media X, the White House posted a picture from the meeting between the two countries. The post claimed that China has strongly opposed the militarization in the Strait of Hormuz and agrees with U.S. that both Iran cannot possess a nuclear weapon.
However, the Chinese state media did not specifically mention the Strait of Hormuz as a topic of discussion between the two leaders. State news agency Xinhua said that it only said that Trump and Xi exchanged views on major international and regional issues, including the Middle East situation.
Now, of course, this comes as U.S. President Donald Trump is now set to focus on trade and Iran on the final day of his China visit. And Trump, of course, is aiming to secure some business agreements across sectors that includes agriculture, aviation, as well as AI.
Absolutely, and we understand that all eyes right now are on Beijing, where the world's two largest economies are meeting for this summit, and of course a lot rides on this final day. And US President Donald Trump, and this is a big headline, it has said that President Xi Jinping has now offered China's help to open the Strait of Hormuz and has pledged not to send the military equipment aid to Iran. And this is of course implicit because we understood that even though it was not officially stated, but the Iran war has been one of the top agendas that Washington wanted Beijing's help on.
Absolutely. Consider the fact that, of course, even Scott Bessent saying that, of course, China has a lot at stake when it comes to Strait of Hormuz rather than U.S. at this point. So having Trump saying that, of course, China has agreed to not send weapons to Iran happens to be a big statement coming from Trump at this point. Of course, we'll have to wait and see what kind of other trade agreements they will agree upon. As of now, well, we'll have to wait and see when that happens. Well, to give us more details, our correspondent Zhu is now joining live from Beijing. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, from China's perspective, I would ask you, what has been the most concrete outcome of the talk so far, according to you?
Thank you for having me. So in this landmark meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and US President Donald Trump, the two heads of states agreed on a new vision of building a constructive China-US relationship of strategic stability. This is one of the most concrete outcomes. This framework is expected to provide strategic guidance for China-US relations over the next 3 years and beyond. And during the talks of the 2 hours at the Great Hall of the People, President Xi said he looks forward to working with the U.S. president to set the course and steer the giant ship of China-U.S. relations so as to make 2026 a historic landmark year that opens up a new chapter in bilateral relations. And as China-U.S. relations are among the most important bilateral ties in the world, facing with many intertwined changes and chaos, the two countries both stand to gain from cooperation and lose from confrontation. And the specific outcomes will be announced later today. Stay tuned.
Right, Ruru, and leading up to the summit, there was enough murmur that, the meeting would be less about major breakthroughs and more about stabilizing ties between the two nations. Now, having said that, did you see any signs of a genuine progress in US-China relations? Or so far, the messaging has been largely diplomatic signaling?
Yes, there is a genuine progress. Elaborating on the new vision, President Xi Jinping said the constructive strategic stability should be a positive stability with cooperation as the mainstay, a sound stability with moderate competition, and also a constant stability with manageable differences, and also an enduring stability with promise of peace. So, guided by head of state diplomacy, China and the US have maintained overall stability. And President Xi stressed the significance for the two leaders to navigate through the complex international landscape and ensure the steady sailing forward of the giantship of China-US relations.
And another topic, Juju, of course, is Taiwan. It's been a flashpoint that not just the world other, but in Japan, South Korea, Philippines, they've all been observing this so closely. So, according to you, how would you observe Xi Jinping's warning on Taiwan compared in tone and intensity with previous high-level meetings? And how do you assess Trump's reaction to that as well?
Yes, that's a very hot topic, and President Xi Jinping emphasized that Taiwan issue is the most important issue in China-US relations. If handled properly, the two countries' relationship can be maintained overall stability, and if mishandled, it could lead to clashes or even conflict, pushing the China-US relationship to a dangerous situation. So maintaining peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait is the greatest common denominator for both China and the US.
Right, and also we understand that it's no secret that Trump wanted China to, help with the Iran situation. And now President Trump has stressed that, China has promised help on Iran and Hormuz, but Chinese official media is still silent about it. What is it signaling, Shuru?
Yeah, the Strait of Hormuz is an important international channel for goods and energy trade. Maintaining security, stability, and smooth passage in the region serves the common interests of the international community. And it is also something China has been actively working on. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun has stated that the root cause of disruptions in the strait navigation is the conflict evolving Iran, and the solution lies in a swift ceasefire. All parties should remain calm and exercise restraint. So China is willing to continue playing a positive and constructive role. Additionally, China is willing to work with all sides to safeguard those energy security and the stability of supply chains. However, to fundamentally solve the problem, the priority should be to promote the restoration of peace and stability in the Gulf and the broader Middle East region. Back to you.
Right, of course, this has been a high-stakes, summit, and there's still sparse detail to understand a definitive direction towards which, the summit is going. But for now, thank you so much, Juju, for getting us all those details.